All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much build the same app we already built. We're just going to do it with Redux. We're going to start a whole new project, start from the ground up, and completely rebuild our to-do list. So what I would like everybody to do is open your terminal and go to your front-end folder. All right, everybody to your front-end folder? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to reclone the React starter. Actually, before we do that, I usually, for one of the lessons, I'll use the Facebook Create React app. Would you guys like to do that with this one? Just so you guys can see kind of the difference. Sure. All right, so what I want everybody to do first, there's one with a very similar name that people hope, whoever made it hopes you'll download instead of Facebook's. So I always forget the exact name. It's like react.org or some stuff like that. Create React app. All right, so what I want everybody to do in the terminal, doesn't matter where you do it, but we're going to do npm install -g for global and create -react -app. I already have it installed. It's not going to hurt to redo it. It'll update mine anyways. So I'll go ahead and hit enter on mine. And I'll give that a minute to run. When you install something globally, it's accessible anywhere on your computer. So you can run this command from anywhere now. Very few things you want to install. Oh, we have version 2. Version 2 just came out. Very few things you want to install globally. Okay? Anything that your project needs to run, either in development mode or in production mode, should never be installed globally. Okay, we've talked about this a little bit before, but the main reason is because when somebody else goes to set up your project, they might not have the same global packages that you do.
So you're missing right permission, I guess.
If you're on a Mac, okay, if you're on Mac, rerun the command with sudo in front of it. It's going to ask for a password. That will be your computer password. If you're on Windows and got that error, you're going to have to reopen Bash in administrator mode. If you're on Windows and don't know how to do that, raise your hand. I'll come around and help you. But on Mac, you can just need to put sudo in front of it. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Password. This is a computer password?
The computer password, yeah.
Okay.
Does anybody need help? I forget that every time I do this. You got to remember. Why mine didn't ask for a password?
You're special.
Apparently. When you globally install stuff, it writes it into a .bin folder that's like at the root of your hard drive. So most of the time you need administrative privileges to write to that. I said why it worked for me and maybe some of you don't really know, but you must just have high enough permissions on whatever account you're using on your computer. Everybody good? Okay, so that just installs what's called a CLI, the command line interface. Okay? It allows you to create a React app
Mine still has the blinking cursor, hasn't installed yet. Is that normal?
No, on a Windows computer, it's probably just takes a minute.
Okay.
It hasn't done anything errors or anything like that, right? Oh, we'll wait a minute for you then.
So there it goes.
Mechanical hard drive and Windows, that combination for NPM installs. I don't know why it takes longer on Windows, but even if you have an SSD, it's slightly slower. I think because it usually installs, I don't know if it installs more packages or not. I don't know. I'm making stuff up at this point. All right. So everybody has it installed now, right? Okay. So it's really easy to use.
Lies.
It's mostly really easy to use. So we're going to do create. And when you run this command, you want to make sure you're in the folder where you want to create your new project. So everybody should be in their front end folder, okay? Because that's where it's going to create a new folder for our new project. So if you were doing some kind of, like, let's say you had a node backend and you already kind of had your backend started to be built out, you'd want to be inside that folder. And then you'd want to call your project client, because then it would make the client folder and put everything into that. But for our purposes, we're just doing a kind of a standalone thing. So we're going to say create React-app, and we'll say Redux -todo-list.
Don't throw away that list. Oh, really?
All right, so this installs all the npm packages, all the stuff for the React project. This will probably take a little bit to get through. While this is doing its thing, let's jump over to GitHub and create our repo we're going to use for this. Okay, everybody got their install started? Even if it doesn't look like it's doing something, it most likely is. Okay, everyone's good? All right. While that's doing that, let's jump over to Chrome and go to GitHub. And up at the top right corner, click on the little plus, new repository. Let's see if I can find a name that I haven't used yet. Redux-todo-list. Once you have the repository name, we'll come down and give it a description. We'll say to do list built with React.js. Look at that, I already have it. Oh, shit. To-do list built with React.js, Redux.js, React router, and Redux-form. Okay. So a list of all the main technologies we're going to use to build this. All right, so we have a repository name, our description. As always, we're not going to change anything else. We do not want to add a README. We don't want to add a get ignore. We don't want to do any of this other stuff. We'll do that ourselves. So should be good to go. Create repository. That should take you to the empty repository page. Everybody get here okay? All right, let's see where we're at with our install. All right, if you're just still running, that's okay. At the end here, it gives us kind of a list of commands that we could run. So npm start you're already familiar with. We'll start the dev server for building your app. npm run build is the same thing as npm run bundle. Okay, it bundles everything into a single JavaScript file. npm test runs any tests you have. npm run eject. I would not run that command unless you're already familiar with this and know what you're doing. npm run eject, it's essentially takes out all the create React app stuff that helps your development environment and deletes everything. Okay, and then it makes it kind of its own standalone React app. But you want all the extra tools and stuff. You don't want to run that command, because once you run that command, it's permanent. You can't go back. And I think it even tells you, yeah, if you do this, you can't go back. Hey, so like word for word. So until you have more experience and a little bit better knowledge of what you're doing, don't run that command. Is anybody's still installing? Okay. How's everybody's day going? I don't want that on your desk. Is that your water bottle there? Or just one leave that there?
Oh, this is mine. Yeah.
I don't like it when people leave stuff on the student's desk, especially instructors. It's your guys' desk. How we doing?
Just start without me. Oh gosh.
We'll wait another minute or two. It should be about done. No student left behind.
It just finished.
See? Wasn't so bad. All right, everybody's done? All good? All right, so, this tells you exactly what to do very nicely. Very, what's that called? When you're being forceful but not. Oh my God. Anyways, change directories, npm start, what we got. Man, I can't think of that term.
Assertive?
Passive aggressive. It's saying it very passive aggressively. We suggest you begin by typing this. It's like not forcing you to, but saying you really should do it. So we're going to cd into the directory. Maybe I was reading a lot more into that than was actually there. So it looks like it actually even set up a Git repo for us. I don't remember doing that before. Maybe that's part of part of 2.
That it initialized the Git repository.
Neat. I don't think it used to do that. Is that version 2 just came out? I've never used version 2. Like it literally just came out. So I think I saw a thing on LinkedIn a day or 2 ago about it coming out. So it's brand new. So we might run into some surprises. Like it initializes a Git repository. Let's see, Git remote -v. Okay, it's empty Git repository that doesn't point anywhere. All right, so before we do anything else, let's do a couple things. One, let's open a code editor here to this directory. However you open your code editor to a particular directory. And then I'm going to go back to my terminal and run npm start so we can see what it looks like. Version 2. Ah, you bastard. Whoa. There might be a problem with the project dependency tree. It is likely not a bug in Create React app, but something you need to fix locally. Oh, thanks. The React Scripts package provided by Create React app requires a dependency Babel loader. Don't try to transfer manually. Your package manager does it automatically. However, a different version of Babel loader was detected higher up in the tree. And so incompatible versions is known to cause hard to bug. Yes.
Okay. Already have it.
That's not raining.
So let's do this. Why do I have a node modules folder there? Yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't be there though. I'm assuming everybody else has worked, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is because I have an oddly placed node modules folder. I'm surprised this hasn't caused me more issues in the past. All right, let's try this again. There we go. You'll notice one thing this one does different is it automatically opens your browser.
Yes.
So if you don't already have your browser open, it automatically opens it. Oh, they made it look different. All right. So everybody sees this, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick look at the folder structure. So they changed it from a dist folder. They now call it a public folder, which is the same as the dist folder. It's where your project will get built into. It uses this manifest file, most likely to build that index file or to update the index file. And then just like before, all of our code will be inside a source. You'll notice there's a lot less config files here. They just bury their config files. It's not that they did it without config files. It's just they have custom React scripts where all their config files are buried into up in the node modules folder. So it does pretty much all the same stuff. They just cleaned it up a little bit more. Another level of abstraction, if you will. Which is one of the reasons I don't care for this that much, because you can't change anything. Kind of stuck with the way it is. All right, if we open our SRC folder, notice there's no components folder or anything like that. It's just like here, do what you will with it. They do have some tests in there, so if you want to see what a very generalized test for React looks like, you can take a look at app.test.js. That's for testing the app component. And it just does a simple crash test. It just makes sure that the component doesn't crash, which is actually pretty nice because you can, as you're building tests, before you bundle for deploy, you can run your tests and it will run through all your components, make sure none of them crash, which is, hey, that alone is a good sign. So, and as you get deeper into testing, you can do a lot more with it. You can actually tell that stuff's appearing on the screen where it should be. You can test your inputs that they work. You could even test like your API calls that you're getting the correct data back, all kinds of stuff. Nowhere near do we have enough time to go into testing, so we're not really going to talk much more about it. But with that said, testing is a big part of modern development. You're going to want to eventually get into testing. Most companies do test-driven development. They'll plan out like a new component if they're using React, and you'll actually write the tests for the component before you even build the component. Okay? So before we do anything else, let's open another terminal tab or window. And jump back over to GitHub and get our URL and make sure our Git repository is pointed to the right place. So now that I copied it, back to my terminal and git remote add -URL origin and then the URL. So git remote add -URL origin and then the web address you want to add. That did not work. Oh, it's add, not add URL. Sorry, guys. Control. It's just add. It's not -URL. Even when I said it, it felt a little funny. Git remote add origin. There we go. And then just to verify it worked, we'll do git remote -v. There we go. I was combining add with set URL. Set URL is used to, if you already have something that exists, set URL is to update it. Add is to add it if you have nothing, which is where we were at. We didn't have anything there. All right. Now let's go back to our code. Everybody good here? Everybody got their Git repository pointed to the right place? Let's go ahead and make a new folder. And we'll call it components. I'm going to go to app.js. And I'm going to delete the import for the CSS and the logo. We're not going to need that. I'm going to pretty much delete everything inside the app. Ugh, damn two-space crap. Trying to kill me. All right, and instead of class name app, I'm just going to say container because we're eventually going to use Bootstrap to materialize. Put an H1 with center and say to do app.
How do you fix your tab thing?
Down at the bottom, down here, click on this. Down here.
Tab size?
Yeah, yours probably says spaces too right now. That's what it starts out as. All right, I'm going to do a little bit more cleanup. Everybody good with their app.js? All right, so I'm going to delete the app CSS. We don't need that anymore, so that's going away. I'm going to delete the logo. I'm going to move app.js into components. So just drag it up into there. Inside of SRC, I'm going to make a new folder called tests. I'm going to drag my app.test.js into the test folder. So now if you have components and tests collapsed, all you should see is index CSS, index.js, and the service worker file. We'll talk about that in a second. And then in your components folder, all you should have is app.js, inside of tests, app.test.js. Everybody with me so far, or does anybody need a second? Okay. the test icon is a little beaker. Oh yeah, even on the folder too. How cute. You all good?
Yeah.
All right. A little bit more cleanup. So what I want to do now is directly inside of SRC, I'm going to make another folder. I want to call it assets. ASSETS, I do believe. Inside of assets, get another folder. I'll say CSS. Oh, that CSS folder did not go to the right place. CSS should be inside of assets. I don't know why I put mine in tests. And then I'm going to drag my index.css up to the CSS folder. And then we'll have to fix the import statement for that CSS inside of the index.js file. So index.js. We're going to change this import statement right here. So it's going to be this directory, assets, CSS. Since it's already an index file, we don't need to specify the file name. We can just call it the folder. And that should be good. You can see that they have this service worker thing that comes from this file. What this does is it helps your app run faster. Yes, good call. So from this directory, components, app. Good catch. So what the service worker does is it's for production. It helps your app run a little bit faster by caching your bundle files. So it does all kinds of checks to see what kind of environment it's working in, creates a service worker, and essentially saves your files to whatever local computer it's being loaded on. One downside to this, if you update your app, when someone comes back to your site, so let's say someone's already been to your site, you update it and then they come back. When they come back, they're not going to see the changes until the next time they come back. So N+1. So you actually see it on the second visit after the update. If it's the first time they came to the site, then they would see the most up-to-date changes. Okay? They documented all this really well. So if you want to know more about it, you can read through it. All right. So I think we got our folder structure all set up. Let's make sure our app is still running. Make sure you've saved everything. Check it out. Module not find, can't resolve, asset, CSS. Lies. Might have to restart your server unless I'm just challenged and did that wrong. Ah, I am just challenged and did it wrong. Module can't find resolve assets. Assets, CSS. You know why? Because it's a CSS file, index.css. God. So we do need to specify the file since it's a CSS file. There's a thing we can do to fix that, but we'll talk about that later. All right, now let's test it. There we go. So we should see this now. Everybody good? Excellent.
No.
Oh, they do like a little mini CSS reset looking thing. You guys get figured out, or
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone's good? All right. Last thing we want to do is update our README and our get ignore. So let's check our get ignore first. So you can see there's already a lot of stuff in here. Node modules. They ignore the public folder. We're going to add to our miscellaneous stuff here. Down at the bottom, we're going to say .idea, .vs code, .atom. Just for all the different code editors, folders that make. I don't know if Sublime makes a folder or not, but using Sublime, you have your own set of problems. All right, so now that we have that in our get ignore, that should handle that stuff. Now, if we go to the README, you'll see that it's huge. A lot of useful information in here. Okay. So if you ever want to see what all this says, you can read it this way. Or if you push it to GitHub, then you can have it nice and formatted to read through it. A lot of useful stuff about everything that Create React App can do for you. Very nice. We're going to select all, delete.
What's the command for select all?
Command A.
Command A.
All right, and then we're just going to do hashtag. We're going to do something simple. We'll say to-do list with Redux. And we'll just give a little description. We'll say to-do app built with React JS and Redux JS. Okay. Good enough for now. Obviously, realistically speaking, you want your READMEs to be more robust than this, but for for this, this is fine to get us started. All right, everything all set? I think we're ready to do our initial commit to GitHub. So we'll jump back over to our terminal. I'll go to my other tab I have open to the same directory. So make sure you're in the right place. Redux To Do List inside of your front end folder. You can do git status. I changed it from red to that blue. It does show up much better.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's a little confusing because all the stuff that should be red is now blue. But I think I'll get through it. All right, so that looks good. I don't see the node modules folder in there. So that's a big plus. So I'll say git add everything from this directory. Git commit -m. And initial commit.
Scott.
Yes, sir.
Looks like when I do get status, it still has all my entire LC folder in it.
Entire LZ folder in it. So it looks like you accidentally got a Git repository a little bit up.
Okay. 이미 많이 본인 계속 이거 보내주잖아.
Cool. We'll do add and commit. All good? Cool. Everyone good? Excellent. All right. So we should be, we've added and committed. And now we're going to do git push -u, set the upstream for the master branch. That way, whenever we're on the master branch, we can just type git push, git pull, and we don't have to do origin master. Really, the only two branches you should ever use the -u to set the upstream is master and dev, or any branch that you're going to be pushing and pulling to a lot, or one or the other a lot. And really, the only branches that you should be doing that to is master and dev. And master, you should only just be pulling a lot. You should never be pushing to master other than this first time. All right, once it's done pushing, we can jump over to Chrome really quick, do a quick refresh, make sure that our repo updated properly. you should see our file structure, our really detailed README we made. Like I said, if you ever do this on your own, I would recommend pushing the README we deleted, the one that comes from Facebook, because it does have a lot of useful stuff in it. Okay. We're more focused on Redux right now than we are learning about React. Create React app. Everybody good? Everybody's repo updated successfully? Ready to rock and roller skate? Can. What command do you need?
Oh.
All good? All right. So next thing we'll do is we'll do some project setup. We'll set up Redux. We'll set up some routing. We'll install some kind of CSS framework. Just some generalized project setup to get us going. So we'll just make a branch that conveys that. So we'll say git checkout -b. I want to say project -setup. All right, and then before we do anything, there's some stuff we need to install. Since we are using React Create App, we don't even have Redux. Okay, the only dependency we have right now is React. That is it. You still have access to your package JSON file. Well, kind of. A package JSON file. And you see we have React DOM, and then this React scripts. That's what actually does all the building and has all your config information and stuff in it. When you run that npm run eject command, that's what it gets rid of. It gets rid of all the React scripts. It pulls all the config files out and will put them into this directory for you. Okay. Once again, I highly recommend not doing that at this point. But you can see we have very few actual dependencies, just React and React DOM. So what we want to do is we want to npm install --save a bunch of stuff. So for one, we know we're going to use Redux, so let's do Redux. So we'll say Redux, and we'll say space React -Redux. Oh yeah. So React Redux. I said we're gonna do some routing, so we need React -router -DOM. Some other stuff we're probably gonna need.
I have a question about React Router DOM. When we were trying to set up our routing yesterday, I literally typed in browser router into the internet, and there's actually an npm dependency called browser router. I got rid of that. Trying to.
No idea.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
Okay.
But probably. It's probably just some kind of some router someone else has built. Because I mean, React Router DOM is not the only router out there. So there's a few of them. There's one that's gaining popularity that I want to check out. Just read about it a couple days ago. I cannot think of the name of it. I think it's just like React something router, like React Router or something. Anyways, anybody? What other packages? Okay, we're building a to-do list. We've already built this app. What else did we use before? We're gonna need to call the server, right? So what do we use to call the server? Axios. What about CSS? What CSS library do we want to use? All right, we're going to take a vote. Okay. Do you want Bootstrap 4? Raise your hand. Did you just say Bootstrap?
Wow.
I heard people say, don't be shy, raise your hands. So,
Oh,
two of you?
2 people.
And if you want materialize, raise your hand. How come no one's voting? And even you guys still got outvoted. You
How Trump
know?
became president.
I'm holding out. I'm holding out.
Whatever you want, Scott.
I know both already. It's up to you guys. Material eyes dash CSS. Man, the Bootstrap group is quiet. What else might we need? So we got Redux, React Redux, React Router DOM, Axios, Materialize. I think to get started, that's enough for our setup and to kind of get going. There is more stuff we're going to need. I could think of at least one more thing we're going to need, but we'll wait till that time comes. Okay? Anything else? Like I said, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. This will get us set up. So what you think you typed that all out properly? npm install -- save Redux, React Redux, React router DOM, Axios, Materialize CSS. Go ahead and hit enter, and that will install all of those packages. So, lesson learned right there. You can install more than one package at a time. Just separated by spaces. Also, if you had not ran npm install already, and you ran this command, it would install all that stuff plus whatever your package JSON file says in it. Okay, if it wasn't installed already. So you can do something like this first before you even run npm install, and it'll just install everything. Going pretty fast. I need to update my dependencies. Those 4, 6, or 9 nagging vulnerabilities to get rid of. All good? If it's still installing, it's okay. We're not going to run it quite yet. Everybody's good though, right? No errors yet? Okay, so as long as if it's still installing, that's fine. Just as long as it's not throwing errors. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up Materialize. You could import it in the app component. That's where we've been doing it, but you can also import it over here. Since the way this project was set up, they imported a CSS file here. We probably want to import Materialize before that file because we want our CSS to be able to take precedence over Materializes. So we're going to go ahead and jump to this main index file. So the main index file right here. And I am going to import, say import Materialize-CSS /dist /CSS /materialize.min.css.
Is it still this or is it public? Or
For Materialize, it's still this. Yeah. Because their folder structure hasn't changed. Not yet, anyways. Facebook's trying to get everybody to start using a public folder instead of this folder. Technically, public does make more sense, I guess. All right, once we've done that, we can go ahead and test that right away to see if it worked. So it should now look like this, nice and centered, bigger text, minus the serifs, which I think I was already using a sensitive font. Everybody good? Just because you needed it. There's that again. And just because I'm OCD, I'm going to move this import statement up here. It does not matter where it's at, but since this is CSS, I just want to group them together. All right. Everybody got materialize working correct? All right, so what we want to do next is we want to set up Redux. So we've already installed Redux, so that step's out of the way. After we install, what's the first setup step we do after installing? The folder structure, file and folder structure. So directly inside of SRC, we'll make a new folder, and we will call that the first one Actions. Inside of Actions, we will create a types file. We'll say types.js. Types file just exports, export default, an object. Okay. We'll fill this out as we go. Right now, we'll just keep it blank. So right now, we're just exporting an empty object from this file. And then inside of Actions, still, we'll create a second file called index.js. At the top, we will import that types object we just made from the types file. And then we'll create one more folder. Once again, directly inside of the SRC folder, we will create a new folder called reducers. Inside of reducers, we'll create our first reducer. We're building a to-do list. So what kind of reducer do we probably need? Maybe a list reducer or a to-do reducer. We'll stick with list. So list underscore reducer. And first thing we'll do is we'll import the types object again. So import types from backend directory, actions types. All right. What else do we do in our reducer? Create the default state. So what is the state going to look like for this particular reducer? So we'll say const default state. So we're probably going to have like a thing of all the to-dos. So we could say something like all. We're probably going to be able to want to view a single to-do item. So we could say something like single. So it would yeah, that's fine. All right, then we'll create our actual reducer, which is just a function. So export default function. And then the reducer function takes how many parameters? 2. What's the first one? State. And the second one? Action. All right, and then in case state is null. We want to set it to default state. And then what goes inside the reducer function? A switch statement. And that switch is based off of what information? Action dot type. All right, right now we don't know any of our types, so we can't make cases for them quite yet. So we'll just say default and return the state unchanged. All right, so that is our starting point for our list reducer and the starting point for any reducer you're going to make. Once again, the only thing that's going to change between reducers is whatever the default state is. And you're not always going to necessarily know right off the top of your head what the default state's going to be. You should have a little bit of planning so you kind of vaguely know what you're doing with that particular reducer. So you know, hopefully we'll know at least one or two of the properties that go in there. But if you don't know everything that's going to ultimately go in there, that's fine. Just start with what information you do know. And then as you build it out, you can add more stuff to it. All right, so now that we have our reducer all ready to go, we need to build our root reducer that takes all of our reducers and turns them into a single reducer. So inside the reducers folder, we'll make a new file called index.js. We need to import a helper function from Redux. Anybody remember the name of the function that takes all of our reducers and turns them into a single reducer? Combine reducers. And if you just start typing it, it will show up. Then we need to import any of our reducers that we built. So we'll say list reducer from directory list reducer. And our ultimate goal here is to create our root reducer, which is just kind of one reducer that contains all of the reducers we built. So const root reducer equals combine reducers. And then we pass it an object that essentially is blueprinting what our state is going to look like. Okay? Right now we only have one piece of state, and that is our list. So we'll say list is set to list reducer. And then finally, we want to export our root reducer, export default root reducer. All right, and then if we end up with more reducers, we'll just, as we build reducers, we'll just keep adding them to this file. Every time you build a new reducer, you have to add it here. Otherwise, it won't do you any good whatsoever. All right. Everybody good here? Anybody still need a second? So far, so good? All right. Now we're going to jump up into our main index file to complete the Redux setup. So over in index.js, that's a direct child of src, the one that looks like this, the one where we imported materialize. We're going to import a bunch of crap. So while we're here, this is also where we set up our routing. So we might as well do that as well. So we'll say import browser router as router from React router DOM. And then we need to import something from React Redux. We need to import the component that houses our store, which is called what? Provider. Good job, guys. Not bad for only your second time going through this. So provider. All right, and then we need the helper function from Redux that actually built our store, which is called what? Create store. And then we need our root reducer. So import root reducer from this directory reducers folder. All right, then we just need to build our store. So we're going to say const store equals create store. And we pass that our root reducer. All right, so we have got our routing imported. We have our provider, our Redux providers, our Redux connection to React and Redux. It kind of lets us use it in our React app. The method to create the Redux store. We created the store. Now we have to actually implement it into our app. So the nice people at Facebook put this all on one line, maybe trying to be helpful, but it's not. So be very careful with this part that everything stays in the right place. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to divide this up into multiple lines. Watch the comma and everything. Okay. And then I'm going to temporarily remove app. I'm going to put my provider. And then inside a provider, I'm going to put my router. And then inside of my router, I'm going to put app again. Watch all your opening and closing things. Make sure app's in the center. Make sure the comma is after provider. Remember, this is the first argument of render. Document.getElementById is the second argument of render. Hey, they fixed this. Good for them. They used to use query selector there, which is much slower than getElementById. Really surprised me when I used this the first time that they were using query selector. Good for them. All right. So one last final thing we need to do, and that is to pass our store into provider on the store prop. So store equals curly brackets store. If all went well, a small miracle would have happened here today. Yeah, I'll use it eventually. Leave me alone. So one thing about the Create React app is it's very into your business about everything you're doing. So if yours worked, you'll see this console log. It tells us inside a list reducer, we imported types, but we never used it. No unused bars is a cardinal sin according to Create React app, which it is. You don't want to have unused variables.
I also have line 12 unreachable code.
Interesting. But imagine Do you have something after the return statement, maybe? Unreachable code. It's talking about in the list reducer file, go to the list reducer file. What's unreachable?
Did I import it wrong? I end up type, and that's right where I want to use types, right?
Yeah, that's all correct. Section. Interesting.
Did we import this anywhere? Sorry, we went through a lot.
No, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why yours has that second error. One second. I'll be right there. Interesting.
Let me just make sure. So, in the index reducer, import list reducer. Yeah, that should be.
Oh, you got a bunch of stuff going on. There are multiple modules with themes that only differ in casing. Let's get later into behavior, blah, 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 blah. It's not your problem. Why is it telling you all this? Okay, but there are multiple modules with themes that only differ in casing. Unexpected behavior. File system with other cases, equal cases. Definers. Yeah, just ignore it. It looks like it's working. To look more into that. Oh, yeah, I see it. I see it.
Huh. Scott, I got rid of the semicolon and it went away.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, well, look more. It's working fine now, other than just being irritating. Should be good. Anybody else? Yeah. I just don't understand why nobody else got that warning. It's very weird. All right. So that should pretty much cover. You guys still having trouble, or? That should pretty much cover the main app setup. So after lunch, after your memory match review, we should be able to jump right into building our Redux To Do app. So let's go ahead and add commit, merge this to master. I'm going to jump over to my terminal, do a quick get status. That's about what you should see. We added actions and reducers. We modified the index. We modified the package file by when we ran npm install, which in turn modified the package log file. So that is all correct. Do git add, git commit, project setup complete, added Redux and routing. And then once you've added and committed, we can go ahead and push, git push origin project setup. All right. So we could then, I want to try this because I haven't done it yet. We could take, oh, it's going to be a dick. Take this URL right here. Once again, I've never done it this way, so we'll see what happens. See what happens if we paste that URL. It takes us right to the proper place to make a pull request. That's pretty spiffy. URL from, and the little message after you push. There's this URL right here. You copy that and put it into your browser. It should take you right to the exact place to create a pull request. Making it too easy for you guys. All right. Everybody get to this page okay? All right, so we're going to do project setup into master. Make sure you have an appropriate message here. We've only done one commit, so it should be whatever your commit message was. If you do more than one commit on a branch, which normally you should, there's nothing wrong with it, but it will only say whatever your branch name was here. That you have to update the message that you want there. Create pull request. Do a quick review of files changed. Make sure nothing crazy happened. Looks legit to me. I don't see anything too crazy. You'll be surprised, though, especially when you're coding on your own, how much that little quick glance through, how many things you will catch. I've caught many, many mistakes doing that. All right, go ahead and merge the pull request, confirm merge, and then delete the branch. You don't need it anymore. There's absolutely no reason to save it, not even for nostalgia reasons. Once it's all merged, we'll jump back to our terminal and update locally. Anybody need a minute to get to this point? Everybody's with me? Or already done with all this? All right, so now in the terminal, I'm going to switch back to master. I'm going to pull master, so just get pull since we used -u the first time. And then I'm going to delete get branch -lowercase d project setup. All right. Once you're all done with that, we should be all set to pick up again later this afternoon. Enjoy your lunch. You'll probably have to be back pretty close to 2. If you're back at 2:05, I'll cover for you guys if I did let you out a couple minutes late. Just don't be back any later than that because you guys are doing stuff with the other cohort, okay? I don't think they've been released yet either, so I'm sure you guys will be fine coming back a little after 2. All righty? All right, I'll see you guys after your review stuff later.
Thank you, Scott.
You're very welcome. Thank you guys for listening.